In Pokemon Legends ZA, your rival Tani or Urbane has a very mysterious side quest going on throughout their whole story. The side quest of finding the last trace of their family, who ends up being their grandmother, Jet. And how do they find this out? Because Jet recognizes the rival's jacket as she was the one to give it to her own daughter, the rival's mother, who then gives it to the rival. It was a jacket that Jet gave before her daughter ran away from Lumia City, and while it is sweet that both the rival and Jet managed to reunite and fill the gap within the family, there is one massive question that is still left to be answered, and that's the question of who is Tani and Urbane's mother? And I actually do think there's a legitimate answer here that no one is talking about. But to figure this out, let's first go over everything that we know so far before breaking down the list of possible candidates. Also, throughout this video, though this applies to either Urbane or Tani, most, if not all of the footage we have is of Tani, so I'm just going to be referring to the rival as Tani for the most part to make things easier. Tani and her mother are not from Lumiose City. Her mother and her family actually have connections to Lumiose, but there are 3 other locations at play here. Jet mentions how their family is not originally from Lumiose City. That marks the first point. The second point is the region where Tani's mother passed away. This faraway region that Tani mentions where her mother went to rest and eventually passed. And the third possible point is where Tani came from herself, because remember, Tani came to Lumiose to find this connection. She wasn't always here in Lumiose, and that's why she was under AZ's care. The fact that she has these 3 starters as her Pokemon means that she probably visited Johto and Unova, but these Pokemon can also be found in Alola and other regions, so we're going to have to revisit this point when we get there. But at least for now, we know that we have 4 different locations that we need to identify. We also again know that Tani's mom passed away due to some sickness due to working too hard. She was someone who worked on developing hologram technology, and she had differentiating opinions from Jet in regards to the direction that Quasartico Inc. should head in. And so she left the company and her family, but continued to pursue her work on hologram tech. She also possibly may have done work for Team Flare or received help from Lysander. But having to raise a child by herself and not having any support while focusing on all this work took a massive toll on her, causing her to pass away. So with this information, we actually learn a bunch of things. First of all, whoever Tani's father was, it most likely doesn't really matter because he was absent from the picture, as most Pokemon fathers seem to be. Next, the information about Team Flare is vital because that gives a timeline of events and an idea of when Tani's mother both ran away and when she passed. And then of course, we now have an occupation to associate her with, hologram technology. Hologram technology isn't easy to work with, and there aren't too many candidates to consider here either. Especially knowing the relationship to Team Flare, there are really only 5 women that come to mind. All 5 of the Team Flare higher-ups that aren't Xerosic of course. But this doesn't really work out. We hear from Mabel that the majority of Team Flare seem to have got arrested, and this is probably true for all of her admin colleagues. She's only outside of bars because she basically chose community service over jail time, which, I mean, hey, makes sense. But Malva probably isn't in the same boat. As we see and hear, various NPCs make mention that they don't know what happened to Malva. I feel like if Malva was arrested, people would know about that, but they don't seem to know, so maybe it's Malva? She definitely is one person that's on everyone's radar in terms of this, but I don't think so. One thing is that when we look at the timeline of events, it doesn't add up. The events of X and Y and Team Flare getting arrested happened 5 years ago. So if the rival's mother was with Team Flare at that point, then most likely she would have gotten arrested. Also, people are saying that Tani and Urbane are anywhere from 16 to 18, and so in the Pokemon world, 5 years ago also means that their mother probably wouldn't have had to take care of them so much like the way the rival described. The way the rival describes how their mother took care of them, it sounds like they were just a small child by that point. So we can assume that their mother was helping out Lysander and Team Flare before X and Y. Also, when it comes to Malva specifically, I mean, yeah, there's a chance that she didn't get arrested as we see her after the whole thing goes down with Team Flare and we're battling against her as an Elite Four member, but like she was already a news anchor and an Elite Four member. I doubt she had any time to look into holocaster technology or anything. To add on to this point, if it was anyone super close to Lysander, such as the admins or Malva, I think the rival would have jumped to ask Lysander about it even if he lost his memory. The fact that they didn't probably means that they don't know much. In fact, not asking Grissel or Grisham also means that they most likely were not even a part of the team. They just supported Team Flare on the side, being maybe affiliated or associated with the team, but not really a part of it. Because if their mother was a part of the team, surely Grissel or Grisham would know about her, as they seem to know about all the gossip and the ins and outs of not only Team Flare, but all of Lumiose. But more importantly, beyond time and even things lining up, we need to look at Pokemon's most basic and obvious tells when it comes to family: genetics. Tawny and Urbane are interesting because they actually have the same design as the protagonist. Urbane and the male protagonist Paxton are the exact same design, just recolored. While Harmony, the female protagonist, and Tawny are the same design, also recolored. So it's very difficult to go off of their designs and find a family member, because we can say something like how the rival has pink hair and Malva, if she's with the right person, means that red can dilute into pink, but no, that's not how it works in Pokemon. It's clear that Tawny and Urbane have dyed their hair, and Jet even comments on their sense of fashion when she mentions how they managed to add their own sense of flair to their mother's jacket, meaning that they have played around with their own appearance a bit. But we don't have to worry here, because with the one connection they made, we can play this game backwards. Jet is the one that we really have to take a look at here. And what features does she have? Blonde hair and blue eyes. This is likely the features that Tawny's mother had too. And the blonde hair checks out, as the rivals seem to have lighter hair below, so it's safe to say that's this, and of course they have blue eyes. So it all checks out. But how many characters in this series actually have blonde hair and blue eyes? Not too many. Moreover, if this was a character we knew, why wouldn't they just mention the name of this character? Seriously, like, even when they talk about the various regions or areas that they've gone to, they're being very discreet about it. What gives? If this was seriously someone that we've already knew of, why would they keep it this ambiguous? The truth is, it's probably not someone we know of yet, because if it was a region we visited and a person we already knew, I bet you the names would have been dropped for both the mother and the region here. So the fact that we don't hear of anything probably means that this is a character that we're going to meet in the Gen 10 games, and this faraway region is the same region that they went to go rest. But that doesn't mean that we're done with this video, because though I do think that the mother is still an unknown character that we've yet to meet and will meet soon, I wouldn't have made this whole video just to say it's someone we're going to see in Gen 10. No. What I really came here to say was that I think there's a solid chance that Tawny and her mother, as well as Jet, are all descendants of Irida from Pokemon Legends Arceus. Let me explain. Irida is one of the only characters with blue eyes and blonde hair in the series, and her being the leader of the Pearl Clan is important because, well, one, it's pink. Explain the pink hair dye that Urbane and Tawny use all over their blonde hair, and also the pink aesthetics. But also because the Pearl Clan and Irida in particular has mentioned wanting to travel and expand beyond Hisui, to go all over the vast face of the world, and of course from what we heard of and knew of Tawny's mother, they went all over. Their family was not originally from Lumiose. Maybe they were from Hisui, but they never settled in one place. They just kept jumping over and over again, kind of like how Irida wanted. And again, we know for sure that at least Tawny and Urbane went all over, as they have the starters. Having the pink dye in Tawny and Urbane's hair is a good way to mask the relation to Irida, and a good way to show symbolism, because I don't think they want to make the connection so obvious, but I bet their mother will look just like Irida, similar to the way Perrin looks exactly like Adamant. And speaking of, Adamant already has a descendant. We've still yet to see one for Irida, unless of course we've been staring at them right in the face this whole time. Irida had also lost her mother when she was young. This happened very early on, to the point where Irida is unable to recall her face. While what I'm about to say might sound tragic, this is one of the only instances in Pokemon where we have a significant character have a loss of a mother like this, and so it may be something that runs in the family. I can't recall why Irida's mother passed, but I believe she was the previous Pearl Clan leader. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but if so, then she may have also overworked herself to her end, and this is something that just runs in the family, unfortunately. I can make an argument for Perrin to be still in line with Adamant's work and sense of time, as photography captures a moment of time, and it keeps it still, whereas hologram technology plays around with the physics and dimension of space, showing the connection to the Pearl Clan there, but that may be stretching it. But overall, I do think that this entire family is related to Irida. They for sure are trying to keep hush-hush about this whole character, but why keep so hush-hush unless we knew something about them already? I think it's to hide the connection to Hisui, the connection to Irida and the Pearl Clan, but I don't think we have to wait too much longer to find out, as next year with Gen 10, we should know who Tawny and Urbane's mother really is.